Hi guys, welcome to this new lecture about presets. Now in this lecture I will show you how to use the fade in over layer below. So actually we're gonna take the first layer and it's gonna fade in and appear on the layer below. So obviously this first layer will not start from the beginning. I will just click on the beginning of the layer and trim it, and that's okay with me. You see, it's not bad. And then the second layer here is not gonna go to the end. So what I will do, I will also trim it, for example at 4, whatever you want, and then press alternate and right bracket to trim it from the timeline indicator to the end. So now the first video will start at this point and will end at the end of the composition, and the second one will start from the beginning and will be replaced by the one above. So if I play my animation now, you notice it's very abrupt, the change here. What I would like to do is this layer will fade in. So I will use the presets and drop it over the layer that I want to be faded in. And then the effect control panel will show. And this is a very useful panel where it shows you the parameters that are being used and what you can change, what attributes and what properties you can change. The first thing I notice is I have an option here, animation preset. I have fade in over layer below and fade out over layer below, and the colorize. So I have chosen fade in over layer below from the fade in presets. So notice you have fade out, which is also here. So it's the same preset that has two options here and has two options here. The next thing you notice is the source opacity is in red, meaning it's driven by an expression. And then you have the fade in color. Fine. You notice now that the fade in starts at the beginning of this layer. You notice it is 0% for this layer, so it's not showing at all. And then at the end of the intersection, it comes to 100%. So actually the fade in is the intersection, or the time of the fade in is the intersection of the two layers. Now if you play your animation by pressing spacebar, you can see that the fade in is working very fine. So that's the way to use fade in over layer below. It is the intersection that determines the time of the fade in. If you make the time of, if you make the intersection a bit longer, you notice that the fade in will take longer. Now this is very useful because it will cut a lot of time on your work. You don't have to put keyframes for opacity for the first layer and the second layer and so on. Cool. Now let's look at a fade out. What you can do is to come here and say, okay, now give me fade out over layer below. So now this layer is gonna disappear. If it's gonna disappear, it means we are going to start with it. True. And then we are going to trim it, for example at 2 seconds, by pressing alternate and right bracket again. And same, the fade out will be the intersection of the two layers. Okay, let's play it. And you can see how the upper layer will fade out into the bottom layer. Fine. This layer has something like stable, which is not nice. They have a still frames here which are not nice. This is better. Now let's take the first layer and we have our effect control panel here. For every effect you have an effect control panel, but here now let's press EE and see how they have done this. We notice that the source opacity is driven by an expression. So let's open the expression here. We can see it, and you notice that it's working with the out point and the in point, and there is a linear that we learned in the previous section about expressions, and they are using this linear. So practically it's pretty easy to use, but it's not maybe so easy to create. So that is a fade in and fade out. I urge you to start using the fade in and fade out. Do not do the keyframes and so on. Think about the presets. When you want to do an animation, mainly transitions, think about the presets. Try to find a preset that fits you, and you can make some changes, and you will save a lot of time in the future after you have learned very well. Having used the fade in and fade out on videos, let's see if it can work on solid layer, simple solid layer. So here is much easier. I'll put that solid layer here and this one, bring it over here. I will trim them all. And we are going to use fade in over layer below. Let's put it on the orange, and there is no changes here to be done. Let's press the space bar and play it, and here you are. There is a very beautiful fade in that you can use. Of course, the fade out also will work the same if you do something like this. Okay, you can make it short or long. Remember, it will take the intersection for the time of the fade out or the fade in. First, we have to change here from fade in over layer below to fade out over layer below, and let's play. And here you are, is happening, is very beautiful. One has disappeared to give space to the other one using the opacity. And notice you don't have any keyframes. That's what's beautiful about fade in and fade out. It saves you a lot of work. So all you have to do is just to stretch them to determine where they're gonna fade in and how long the fade in is gonna take, time to fade in and out. Thanks very much for listening. I will see you in the next lecture where we'll see some rotate over time or something like this.